Or do y'all want to kind of grade them yourself?
We outgrew that.
Oh, great, yes. Grade them yourself. Get a higher score. Oh. Well, welcome to Lake Swamp Baptist Church. Tonight we are going to continue our study in Genesis. We will be in chapter 26. Last week we got into Esau and Jacob, their births, the qualities of each one of those men. Esau was more of a hunter. He was a red, rugged man. I liked to hunt venison, and he was a good cook of it, obviously. And his father, Isaac, really loved it a lot. And his brother, Jacob, he was more of a tent dweller, as they described him. He was more of a gentle type. And I said that Esau was more of the football player, weightlifting, deer hunting, four-wheel driving, type of guy. Whereas Jacob was more of a gentle guy, mama's boy, if you will. And so we talked about that. And then we talked about how Esau kind of was considered profane because he didn't consider his birthright of importance, really. And as soon as he got hungry, he sold his birthright to his brother. And his mother, Rebecca, had been visited by the Lord. And the Lord told her, look, the older will serve the younger, So that's what we went over last week. This week, we're going to go into more on Isaac. And there's a famine coming in the land. And notice the similarities of the events that are going to happen between Isaac and Abraham. There's a lot of similarities, okay? And so we'll discuss those as well. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for your word. Thank you for being so kind and gracious, Lord, as having all these men and just write it down for us, Lord, that we may learn from it, that we may ingrain it on our hearts and in our minds to help us to be doers of the word, Lord. I pray tonight, Lord, that you will open our hearts and minds that we can be ready to receive your word. Lord, I thank you for everyone that is here tonight, Lord, eager to learn. It lets me know they love you, Lord. So, Lord, I pray for special blessings on each person here tonight or watching. Lord, I pray that they would get a hunger for the word. Lord, that you would just bless them spiritually with gifts. Lord, that your light may shine and we can lead the lost to you. So God, be with us, we pray in your holy name. Amen. All right, let's read verse 1 through 6 of chapter 26 of Genesis. 1 through 6. And there was a famine in the land beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. And the Lord appeared unto him and said, Go not down into Egypt. Dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee. For unto thee and unto thy seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice, he kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. And Isaac dwelt in Gerar. So we find here that there's another famine in the land. Did his father face a famine? And what did he do? He went to Egypt, right? So we see here that Isaac, the famine is around, and he's like, hey, we're heading south. And so he starts heading for Egypt. And God's like, whoa. You're passing through Gerar, stop here. Don't go into Egypt. I want you to stay here. And if you stay here, I will bless you. Because I blessed your father, I will bless you as well. So God's telling him, do not go down into Egypt. And we see King Abimelech is king of the Philistines, which is living in the area of Gerar. Now, have y'all heard the name Abimelech before? When? Abraham. Yes, Abraham went down, right? Now, it's not the same Abimelech. Yeah, yes. Most scholars agree that it is a title, okay? And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And God, when he appeared unto Isaac, he goes, look, I want you to sojourn here. And that's the word that he said in verse 3, sojourn in this land. What is sojourn land? We discussed that. What does that mean? To dwell in the land? So yeah, you can live in the land, but you're still going to be a stranger. He's basically saying you're not going to be a citizen. This is not your permanent, you can live here, but you're not a resident. Right. It's kind of like you got a green card, but you're not a resident. You're moving on. And so a lot of times, even with Abraham, remember, he lived in tents. That means, hey, this ain't my home. This ain't my, and he'd move around. And that's kind of the same thing here. But the Lord's like, sojourn here for a while. Put your tents up, and I will bless thee. And he also reaffirms the covenant that he made with Abraham. He basically said, Isaac, I will bless you like I blessed your father. Whew. And Isaac knew who his father was, so Isaac was obedient and he stayed in the land of Gerar. All right, let's read 7 through 11. And the men of the place asked him of his wife. And he said, she is my sister. For he feared to say, she is my wife. Now, does this sound familiar too? Okay. Lest, said he, the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she was fair to look upon. And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out at a window and saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah his wife. And Abimelech called Isaac and said, behold, of a surety she is thy wife. And how saidst thou, she is my sister? And Isaac said unto him, because I said, lest I die for her. And Abimelech said, what is this that thou hast done unto us? One of the people might lightly have lain with thy wife, and thou shouldest have brought guiltiness upon us. And Abimelech charged all his people, saying, he that toucheth this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Oh, Abimelech ain't playing around, is he? Like his father, Isaac decides to tell the Philistines in Gerar, oh, she's my sister. Now, she was not his sister, right? Cousin, but not sister. Because he was afraid that people would kill him. I don't wonder where he learned that from. You would think his dad would have been like, oh, by the way, part 2 of that story is I shouldn't have done that. So it seems like he was only given in part 1, like, hey, you know how I survived? I told him she was my sister. All I got to say is these women that these patriarchs had, they came from Mesopotamia, which was the homeland of Abraham. They had to be good looking. Especially Sarah. She had to be extremely good looking. Because even the kings were like, I want that woman. So, and they were scared. They knew before they even went somewhere, like, everyone's going to desire my wife. That's always something funny. I know when, I've often wondered, a lot of times when you're young, you try to find the prettiest person you can to be your boyfriend or your girlfriend. The one with the prettiest face and the nicest hair. And I'm like, what's the wisdom in that? That's all flesh, is it not? You see, if we can see spiritually, right? If we can see spiritually, get a godly woman. Anyways, or a godly man. Because sometimes when you let the flesh lead the way to your relationships, it cannot end up well. So we need to have Jesus first and foremost praying like, Lord, send me the right person, please. After staying in Gerar for some time, King Abimelech happened to look out of a window and he saw Isaac sporting with Rebekah. Now the King James Version calls it sporting, and I think y'all are all adults, and the word means caressing, if you will. So the king saw Isaac not doing brotherly things with his sister. He's like, that. There's no way they're brother and sisters. They are married. And so he saw it and he knew. So the king calls Isaac and scolds him. That's the word I'm using. He scolded him. Like, are you kidding me? Have you not heard of Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh? Have you not heard of Yahweh, your God? Do you know what He does to kingdoms that mess with His anointed and elected people, which is you? And then you come here and you lie, you deceive us. You say, one of my men could have lain with that woman, and that would have been destruction for my country. Well, why did you do that? So he was scolding him. He was getting on to him. The pagan is correcting the man of God. Do you think the world around us knows what it means to be a Christian and what a Christian life should look like? You ever had somebody that's not church, not saved, come up and like, are you behaving like a Christian? I mean, think about it. So that's basically what's going on here. King Abimelech's not happy. Abimelech means my father is king in Hebrew. And this probably happened decades after Abraham's episode of dealing with Abimelech. And so it's kind of like saying Abimelech would be like saying Pharaoh or Caesar. Okay? How many pharaohs were they? Numerous. Tutankhamun, and there were so it was kind of like a title that was associated. That's what most people think there. Abimelech was not happy, knowing that if one of his men had lain with Rebekah, it would have surely brought curses from God. And then he put a decree out in his land, right? Anyone that touches Isaac or his wife, I will put them to death. That tells me something about the Canaanite people that were living in that area at that time. They knew who God was, and they feared Him. Think about that. And if you remember when He was talking to Abraham, He goes, hey, I'm going to give you all this land, but the time is not at hand, right? Their sin is not full yet. It's not the time. Because and we kind of start seeing it here, as Isaac starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger and richer and wealthier, some of the Philistines start to get envious, right? Start to get a little envious going on there. All right, let's read 12 through 17. Then Isaac sowed in that land and received in the same year 100-fold. And the Lord blessed him. And the man waxed great and went forward and grew until he became very great. For he had possession of flocks and possession of herds and great store of servants, and the Philistines envied him. For all the wells which his father's servants had digged in the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines had stopped them and filled them with earth. And Abimelech said unto Isaac, Go from us, for thou art much mightier than we. And Isaac departed thence and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar and dwelt there. So God is indeed with Isaac. He said, look, if you'll stay here, I'll bless you. 100-fold return. Talk about an interest rate. Whew. That was pretty nice. And as he got more and more powerful, the neighboring king and his people started to notice it. Eventually the king had to go and address the issue, and he goes, look, let me just be clear. You're much mightier than we are. I need you to leave. I need you to leave. Because do you think Isaac, with his men servants and what he had, could have taken over the entire area? Sounds like it, don't it? It would be kind of like if you've got a house, you and your husband and your two kids, and all of a sudden a young adult couple is like, hey, we just got married, can we rent a room from you in your house? 20 years in the future, their grandparents with 8 kids and 24 grandkids, and they're all living in your house. Yeah, so they've outgrew it, right? So, and it's kind of like, well, look, they could kick us out the house if they wanted to. Anyways, you get the picture here. So Abimelech's like, look, Isaac, I need you to leave. You're much mightier than we. I mean, imagine the resources from the land, the water, the land, the trees, the straw, all that it was taken to feed all of his stuff. So, yeah. As a result, Isaac departs and settles in the valley of Gerar. So Isaac agrees, and he departs Gerar, and he heads away to the valley of Gerar. And I'll tell you how far that is in just a second. Let's go to verse 18, and we'll read through 22. And Isaac digged again the wells of water. What just happened? Why is he digging these wells? Do you remember what I just read? What was happening? Yeah, they were filling. So, for example, how do we stop him from growing so powerful? So they'd go in and fill his wells up. Because they were envious. Right. It was hard to find water for most people, you know. So 18, and Isaac digged again the wells of water, which they had digged in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham. Now this is another set of wells, but basically if you remember when Abraham made the covenant with God, God was the one that walked the covenant and Abraham was asleep. And then this is the same area where that happened. Okay? So Abraham had a well there, etc. But whenever they had left, the Philistines in the area had kind of filled in a lot of them. All right? And so that's what this is talking about. And Isaac digged again the wells of water, which they had digged in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham. And he called their names after the names by which his father called them. Okay? And Isaac's servants digged in the valley and found there a well of springing water. Now that's a find there. It weren't just like a mud hole. No, this was running water under the ground that he found. So this was a big find. It shows that God is blessing him, right? Excuse me. And Isaac's servants digged in the valley and found there a well of springing water. And the herdmen of Gerar did strive with Isaac's herdmen, saying, the water is ours. And he called the name of the well Esek, because they strove with him. And they digged another well, and strove for that also. And he called the name of it Sitnah. And he removed from thence, and digged another well. And for that they strove not. And he called the name of it Rehoboth. And he said, for now the Lord hath made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. So I don't know about y'all, but I'm starting to think Isaac's profession is a well digger. I don't know why, but he's obviously becoming very proficient at having to dig wells, or his men are anyways. So he settles in the valley of Gerar. The herdsmen in the area, the Philistines still, they're like, it's like they're waiting. And after he did all the labor, they walk up and they're like, what are you doing? That's our well. Now, choices and consequences. Isaac could say, really? I've got a lot of people here. I got military men. Are you sure you want to pick this fight with me? How many people today would do something like that? Isaac was mightier. These were just herdsmen. And he goes, all right. Peacemaker. So he would have won the Nobel Peace Prize here because he could have went to war and inevitably it had probably drug King Abimelech into the war as well because that was in that area. But Isaac chose, like, you know what? All these blessings I have received from God. And he promised me he would continue to bless me, so I'm not worried about a well. I'm not worried about something here, this physical, because God will provide. And he left. And what happened when he went a little bit of ways and dug another well? What happened there? Same thing, right? That's our well. Same thing. He's like, okay. And then finally, he dug a well, and there was no contention over it. There was no striving over it. The first one he called Esek, which means dispute or contention. The next one he named Sitnah, which means opposition or hatred. And then finally, in the last well that no one strove over, he named the well Rehoboth, which means room, because God had made room for him to live there. So he's finally found a place he can say, okay, let me say, King kicked me out because I was too big. The locals here didn't like me using their water, I guess, but God provided a room for him to stay there in the area. All right, let's read 23 through 25. And he went up from thence to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared unto him the same night, and said, I am the God of Abraham thy father. Fear not, for I am with thee, and will bless thee, and multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And he builded an altar there, and called upon the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants digged a well. Over time, Isaac eventually makes his way back up to Beersheba. Like the valley of Gerar, Beersheba was still located in the southern region of modern-day Israel. So they're down in that Negev region, that southern part of Israel, okay? Right before you get to Egypt. Beersheba is about 25 to 30 miles from the valley of Gerar. So about 2 days' journey, all right? Lord appears to Isaac once he leaves in Beersheba, once he arrives in Beersheba, and tells him, I'm still with you, and I'm going to still bless you because of your father's sake. Isaac does the right thing. He did something that Abraham did quite often. He built an altar. Very important. He built an altar, which meant he gave sacrifices unto the Lord. And again, we see him digging another well. So, got to have that water, right? Got to have the water. All right. Questions up to this far? All right. Everybody following me? Very good. Let's go to 26, and then we'll get near the end here. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar. Abimelech's coming to him. And Ahuzath, one of his friends, and Phicol, the chief captain of his army. So basically you have the president, the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of Defense coming to visit this guy. That's basically what this equates to. And Isaac said unto them, Wherefore come ye to me, seeing ye hate me, and have sent me away from you? And they said, We saw certainly that the Lord, which here it's Yahweh, because it's all capital, was with thee. And we said, Let there be now an oath betwixt us, even betwixt us and thee, and let us make a covenant with thee. So they want to make a treaty. That thou wilt do us no hurt, as we have not touched thee, and as we have done unto thee nothing but good, and have sent thee away in peace. Thou art now the blessed of the Lord. And he made them a feast, and they did eat and drink. And they rose up betimes in the morning, and sware one to another, and Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. And it came to pass the same day that Isaac's servants came and told him concerning the well which they had digged, and said unto him, We have found water. And he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba unto this day. So he gets an unexpected visit, right? So he's about 2 days away from the valley of Gerar, which is a little bit of ways on the outskirts of Gerar where King Abimelech was. And the king arrives, and he brings with him his friend Ahuzzath and Phicol, which was the chief of his army. That makes Isaac a little curious. What'd you come here for? What are you wanting? You know, you sent me away, and now here you guys are. It must be very important for the three of you to come see me, especially you, king. And the king was up front with him, wasn't he? Look, doesn't take an idiot to see you are blessed by Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh. You are blessed by Yahweh, and we want to make a treaty with you. Because even when Abraham had made an agreement with King Abimelech and stuff, the people of the area, remember, God in that covenant said, I will bless the nations that bless thee, right? Those that take care of you, I will take care of them. Those that oppose you, I'll destroy. I'll curse them, right? So there's some wisdom here with Abimelech. He goes, look, yeah. Yep. That's right. And he wanted to keep peace. He wanted to be friends with the living God. So that's what's happening here. And he must have sent him away peacefully. You know, sometimes, you know, like Pharaoh, when the Hebrews went to live down in Egypt with Joseph, right? They all came down and they lived there during the famine and they survived. And the Pharaoh at the time had made Joseph like the prime minister. He was in charge over everything and feeding and food. And everything was well until the next Pharaoh comes in, or a few pharaohs after, and they're like, wait a minute. There's millions of them. And they're strong. They work all day. You know what? That's a lot of people. We need to enslave them. Right? We need to enslave them. And so he enslaved them. And so, because he was scared. He's like, hey, they'll take over. So unlike Egypt, King Abimelech had said, Isaac, you're mightier than we are. Would you please leave? I mean, he did it peaceably as he could. I mean, it's never easy to say, listen, you know, you've come over, you visited for 4 days, you've eaten all of our food in our refrigerator. Give us time to restock. Go home for a while. You know? Hey, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. There's nothing more to talk about in Tabor City. Well, you know. Y'all making me pull out my inner Dewayne. Anyways. Let's see. Where am I at? Isaac agrees to make a covenant with Abimelech, and they celebrate with a feast. So Isaac agrees. He prepares a feast. The next morning they get up. They confirm the covenant, the treaty that they had made. And he found out that the well that they had dug found water. So that's a good thing. And he called it Sheba. And that means, if you remember back to Abraham, it means oath or seven, right? And a lot of people believe that he dug 7 wells. And there's some stuff in here that makes you think, okay, maybe it was 7. But it's basically the oath. That's where God made the covenant with Abraham. Now we're going to switch gears just a little bit. 34 and 35. And Esau. Now, who is Esau in relation to Isaac? His son. His oldest son. The one that's supposed to have the birthright. The one that's supposed to inherit everything, right? And Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, which were a grief of mine unto Isaac and Rebekah. So Esau takes 2 wives. Why was Isaac and Rebekah upset? Why did it distress them?
Number one, that wasn't typical to take 2 wives.
Okay, because he took more than 1 wife?
Part of it, I think that's part of it. Not
Maybe.
all of it, but
Maybe there's a bigger factor going on here. They were not of his people. They were these Canaanites, right? The Ishmaelites. And these are not people we're supposed to be mixing with. And he took 2 of them. Do you think at 40 years old, Esau knew he shouldn't marry him?
yes.
So why did he do it? Just out of pure spite, probably. Rebellion. He's rebellious. And that's what, when you look at him, they called him profane and stuff, because he didn't even respect his birthright. Just gave it away. So he was disobedient. And that just goes to show that he was not...
His flesh, too.
Yeah, exactly. He was more of the flesh. You're right. But that shows... it demonstrates how unfit he was to receive God's blessings. That's what it was. He was just unfit. So Isaac, or his mother and father, they're grieved. They obviously disagree with the marriage. So that's chapter 26, okay? Isaac's kind of doing his own thing, moving around, getting more and more and more powerful, more and more blessed is a better way to look at it. We like to measure things with power, but really it's blessed, because he weren't out there trying to take over kingdoms, and he was just letting God bless him. He was trusting in the Lord with the wells. Every time they would dig a well and it would produce water, it was like, the Lord's with us. Usually it would take, it's hard to find water over there, but it just seems like, hey, man, dig water. And so God was providing for him. So well was a sign of the blessings that he had. But he kept moving around, but people treated him peaceably. You think his light was shining? Yeah, obviously. Abimelech's like, hey, you serve Yahweh. We want to be friends with you, Takeaways. I wrote a little part here called takeaways. The descendants of the obedient Abraham would be blessed because of him, but they too had to exercise faith in order to enjoy the promised blessings. How about us? Do we have to exercise faith to enjoy the blessings? A lot of times, absolutely. Genuine faith in God's promises requires a fearless walk with him. You hear that? Genuine faith in God's promises requires a fearless walk with him. But to cower in fear endangers the blessings, and it makes a mockery of faith. You see, fear is the opposite of faith. Fear is that's one to write and put on your mirror, your rearview mirror, your dashboard, or whatever. Fear is a mockery of faith. So he did not give us a spirit of fear. He gave us one of power, right? So
I read down one too that was good. It said, your family doesn't determine your inheritance in Jesus Christ.
that's right. Yeah. Which inheritance do you have your eyes on? The one the Lord's got for you? Yeah. God's promises and covenant with Abraham did not end with Abraham's death. Rather, they continued on to his heirs, or to his heir Isaac. God ensured his promises were kept. Every time the Philistines filled one of Isaac's wells, God ensured another one would be provided. So that's kind of the takeaway from chapter 26 there. Next week we'll get into 27, and we'll see where the great deception happens. Right? Jacob's going to deceive Isaac. And so we'll get into that. Any questions on tonight?
The tribe that the 2 wives were from that Esau married,
The Hittites.
what was the reason why they couldn't be included into their belief?
Abraham, so when God chose Abraham, he goes, look, get away from these people. I want you to go to a place that I'll show you, and you're basically going to be a peculiar person. You're not going to mix with the surrounding Canaanites, because Canaan was cursed. Remember, the sons of Ham.
Rebecca and Isaac.
Right. So when Abraham got a wife for his, because Sarah was from his family part up there. Remember, it was his sister-in-law, but he took her as a wife. And then when it was time for Isaac to get a wife, he sent Eliezer, hey, go back and get one of my people, from his brother, right? So he was very specific. He didn't want to mix with the lineage of Ham and Canaan and the Canaanites. So don't mix with those heathen, because they're cursed, right? They're cursed. It's a separate people. So, yeah, and marrying them was considered like anti-God.
So
It was disobedience.
with them, maybe it was like, Ishmael was promised, his family, his descendants could be great, but not promised.
Right. Ishmael was not the promised son.
Right.
Isaac was. However, he was a son of Abraham. So God's like, I'll bless him, but he's the son of an Egyptian. Hagar was an Egyptian, right? Abraham shouldn't have done that, but he did. So he became she was a bondswoman, right? She was indentured. She was not a free woman. And then you also had Ishmael was the son of a bondwoman. So she was, he was kind of like, and eventually they got, hey, separate yourself from them. Separate yourself. They cannot share in your inheritance. They cannot share with Isaac.
So it's like Ishmael is the example of a lost person, and Isaac would be like the saved.
Yes, that would be, yes, the promise. Right, yeah. So what you have here is Abraham and Isaac. They're representing liberty, freedom, grace, promise, not law. Because Paul describes it as when you're under the law before you know Jesus, you are enslaved to it. It condemns you. You're not a free person. You're in bondage. And when you accept Jesus Christ, the bondage is broken. You're adopted into his family, and you are now free. You have the law of liberty. You are of the promise, right? Because Jesus is the promise that God gave Abraham. Your seed will bless, by all nations will be blessed.
So that's like they're not yoked. They're
Right.
uneven.
Esau is not equally yoked. Not equally yoked here. All right. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, I have a quick test. And it's quick. It's 25 questions worth 4 points apiece. Now, I only made 12 or 13, so you want lunch. I might give you another one if I have them. No, you can keep it going because they may want to watch and take the quiz at home. Now, I know y'all get nervous with tests. I know that. Don't be nervous. What I want you to do is, you'll know more than you think. Okay? You will know more than you think. I believe. And I'm wanting everyone to make 70 or higher. 70 or higher. There you go. Can you see it? I'll give it to Brother Dalton. There you go, brother. Begin. I wanted to say that. That's always funny to me. And this test is focused on Abraham because we're finished kind of with him as far as his story goes. All right. I don't have a test, so I need someone's test. Who would like me to grade their test while I'm going over it?
I don't have a name on it.
All right. I know whose it is. Sister Wendy has volunteered. All right. Raise your hand if you would like to answer. If you get it wrong, put an X beside it. Count up how many you missed, multiply it by 4, and that's how many points you subtract from 100, okay? My desire is that everyone would score 70 or above. 70 or above, okay? Knowing this information when you're talking to someone lets them know, hey, this person knows about Abraham. They understand Abraham. They know a lot about him. Because before we went through this study, you knew he was called Father Abraham. He had a son. Was it Isaac, Joseph? Which one was it? You knew it was something like that. And God loved him. He was a friend of God. And Isaac, he went to sacrifice Isaac. But that was about the extent of what most people know. So knowing 25 different data points here, that lets you know. Yeah. All right. Number 1, what was Abraham's name before God changed it? Hazard. Very good. Abram. A. Where was Abram living when God first called him? Ricky.
Ur of the Chaldees.
Yes, Ur of the Chaldees. Very good. Who was Abram's father? Sister Margaret. Terah. Very good. Very good. What did God promise to make of Abraham? Sister Phyllis. A great nation. What did Abraham do when he first arrived in Canaan? Sister Wendy. He built an altar and worshiped God. Very good. Why did Abram go down to Egypt? Brother Hazard. Famine. Very good. We just talked about that. Who was Abram's wife? Brother Ricky. Sarah. How was Abram related to Lot? Sister Margaret.
Uncle.
He was his uncle. Very good. They put uncle and nephew here, and I'm like, well, from whose perspective? But yes, Abram was Lot's uncle. What caused Abram and Lot to separate? Sister Phyllis. Quarreling amongst their herdsmen. Very good. Where did Lot choose to live? Brother Ricky. Sodom. What did God promise Abram in Genesis 15? Brother Hazard? A child from his own body. Who was Hagar? Sister Margaret. Sarah's Egyptian servant. Very good. All right, number 13. What was the name of the son Hagar bore to Abram? Sister Nancy. Correct. Good job. Ishmael. I know, I had to do that I know, I'm bad. What sign did God give Abraham of his covenant with him? He said, this is the sign of the covenant that I make with you. Sister Phyllis. Rainbow? Who did he give the rainbow as a covenant to? Noah. The men know this one. Circumcision. Yes. Circumcision. At what age was Abram when God changed his name to Abraham? At what age was Abram when God changed his name to Abraham? Sister Margaret?
85?
No. 99 years old. That is correct. That's a hard one. Honestly, I meant to go back and delete this one, but I forgot to do it. So if you got it wrong, don't mark it as an X. It's fine. Because that one I'm like, it's a little hard because significant things happened at 99, 85, 100. So that was kind of a, yeah. What does the name Abraham mean? Brother Ricky? Yes. Who visited Abraham at his tent near the oaks of Mamre? Brother Hazard? 3 men, including the Lord. What did Sarah do when she heard she would have a child? Did she rejoice, pray, laugh, or weep? Sister Margaret? She laughed. Very good. We remember that one. We all put ourselves in that husband's shoes when the Lord's like, hey, husband, why's your wife laughing at me? I'd have fainted. I'd have passed out. For what reason did God say he would spare Sodom? Brother Ricky? If there were 10 righteous people. What happened to Lot's wife? All right, now some of y'all ain't answering. Sister Sherry? Very good. She turned into a pillar of salt. What was the name of the son Sarah bore to Abraham? Sister Nancy? Isaac. Very good. What did God ask Abraham to do with Isaac as a test of faith? Sister Phyllis? Offer him as a burnt offering. Very good. What did God provide instead of Isaac as the sacrifice? Brother Ricky? Ram. Where was Sarah buried? Ooh. Brother Hazard? Continue. I just want to see you pronounce that word. Machpelah. Yeah, sounds good. See, if no one else can pronounce it, I can pronounce it any way I want to and make it sound confident, right? True or false? Abraham was 175 years old when he died. True or false? True. It's very true. You missed 100? Let's see here. Sister Wendy, I think you only missed one. I think. No,
I missed 2.
I'm not sure.
Because the one about how, the 99, and I missed the one about circumcision. I put fire in.
You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I did miss 2.
All right, so are you pleasantly surprised at how much you recalled? Multiple choice helps, don't it? Multiple choice does help. So guess what? Guess what's within reach of you? You got multiple choice, right? I mean, yeah, if you're just out in the middle of the desert talking to somebody, you may not be able to recollect as much as if you had the Bible nearby. So when people are at your home, or if you're going to a Bible study, or, say, hey, I got my Bible in the car, let me go get it, and we'll talk about this, because I got answers right there. So if somebody says, I want to learn about Abraham, where can I read in the book? Which book should I read? Genesis. You now know that. Don't take things for granted that people know where these things are. They don't. They don't. So anyways, I appreciate your time. Thank y'all for taking the test. I hope y'all enjoyed it and learned something. Keep going over it. That's the things you want to refresh. If everybody would please stand. I look forward to seeing everyone Sunday morning bright and early so we can praise God together. Brother Ricky, will you close us out in prayer?